Yeah, and anybody that's followed you or is watching this on the YouTube channel, they could see the bucks that you got on the wall back there. I mean, you have a knack for finding mature bucks just about everywhere you go. So let's get into some of those tactics. Let's break down kind of like when you get to a new area. Tell us, you know, what you're looking for before you decide to throw a few hunts at it.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on. There's a lot that go into that. That obviously getting the property, in an area that has big deer, if that's what you're after. I mean, I think I talk about this all the time, is setting your own goals. What your goals are, and we'll just assume that it's Boone and Crockett caliber deer that you're after. To keep things, I guess, in that realm. So you've got to be in places where, Ohio, like where you hunt, Illinois, Kansas, places that are going to produce it. And then, I mean, you can hunt public, and a lot of guys do that. I have kind of gotten away from hunting public because I want to, not have much pressure on the deer. I want to go kind of one-on-one with the deer. And so, I mean, guys that kill big deer on public consistently can certainly kill big deer on private.
Sure,
that's
sure.
a whole nother podcast that we could have on public
Right.
versus private. We'll just focus on kind of what I do. But, the main thing I look for is, because, I'm not in a position to buy great big giant farms. So I look for smaller, out of the way tracks, ones that are butt up to little rural towns that feed out to ag, old abandoned golf courses, things that are just overlooked. And you hear that a lot, and it's so true that those overlooked places are, they're incredible, because the deer know their sanctuaries, and they stay, they'll live in there until they're kicked out. And then you have to kind of determine if that's the route you go. If you're looking for a small track, you've got to determine what type track that is. Is it a big CRP, nasty thicket bedding area? Okay, well, you're not going to be able to hunt that much if it's a small track. You're only going to be able to hunt that a little bit. Is the track that you've got a funnel? If it's a funnel and you're going to rut hunt it, you can hunt that thing a lot. You get on the downwind side of the funnel, and you can, if you've got good access and exits, you can hunt that thing a ton. And then if it's a food area, if you're hunting in a spot that's got, lots of food, or there's a place that's all prairie, and you've got the only food plot, around, that's another place you're not going to be able to hunt a lot, because those deer are coming. That's a destination spot. They're going to come feed in, and as soon as you blow it up, the mature deer figure it out, just like the bedding area. So I think that's the first thing you got to figure out, is what is your spot? Is it bedding? Is it funnel? Is it feed? Or do you have all of them? You may be very lucky and get into a 1,000, 2,000 acre place, and you've got everything: bedding, feeding, the whole shebang. So that's the first thing you got to determine. And then, certainly then we got to look at the season that you're going to be hunting. Are you going to be hunting early season, rut, late season, that sort of thing. And then let that coincide with the type property that you have. Is that kind of the direction you wanted to head with this, or
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. And let's break down, how you approach each one of those types of properties. If you want to go through them the way you
Yeah,
broke them down by bedding or travel or funnel.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big trail camera guy. I run as many possible trail cameras as I can run. I know you'll hear some guys that have killed tons of really big deer. They'll say that the bucks are they can get camera shy, all that sort of stuff. And I guess that can happen. I haven't really had that happen personally. I've got lots and lots of 5, 6, 7-year-old, even 8, 9-year-old bucks on camera repeatedly. I have had a few that I've only gotten one picture of, or, I've seen some bucks I've never gotten a single picture of. But to me, the risk outweighs, the risk is worth it. So I run a ton of trail cameras. You know, if I've got a bedding like the 29-acre tract, we'll just start there to give a real world example, not just
Sure.
theory. You know, that was 100% bedding. It was a big CRP thicket with some oak ridges that kind of ran down into the thicket. And we would put, you know, it was only 29 acres, and probably that thicket was only about 19 acres of it. And we would put 2 trail cameras in there in late July, early August, and this was before cell cams. And we would just let them sit in there. And then towards the end of October, I wouldn't hunt it. Well, I guess mid-October, you know, either I would go out there and pull those 2 cards if I had an opportunity. And for me, that's a 12-hour drive, so it was hard.
Right.
Or my buddy would he'd go pull the cards for me, which is very important to have good relationships, because you know a buddy that lives way off, he pulls a card and there's a 190 in there, you might not hear about it. but luckily, you know, this guy, when he would pull the cards, he would send me the pictures. He'd email me the pictures. And you know, the first year, there was the 160 that was in there, called him Big Lefty, and had a bunch of pictures of him. And you know, I hunted 1 tree on that property, and I waited until I had really good weather conditions and I had a north wind. North wind was what I had to have. And the first year, went in there on the north wind and hunted it that morning. And well, I guess we could back up. People can say, well, why north wind? I mean, I guess I would really need a map to explain it. But the south side of the property was, there was a fence crossing right there that led out to an old cattle pasture. And there's a huge trail that went through that fence crossing. So that's really what you were hunting, at fence crossing. And you get on the south side of that, and so a north wind, and there was a big embankment behind me that the deer couldn't get up or down, so that it was literally bulletproof. There's a big walnut tree right there, and I got up probably 25 feet up in that walnut tree. It literally, I never got busted except by one old lead doe one time, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway, for that, you know, I got in there for this buck the first year. And north wind, when I say perfect weather, I had 4 days of north wind, high pressure. I don't know if you guys follow this, but the Deer Hunter's Moon Guide, I do follow the overhead and underfoot. You know, I think weather trumps everything, but I do pay attention to that. And so, you know, I had the high pressure, I had the north wind, I had dropping temperatures, cold front was there. Just conditions were perfect to, you know, for a big buck. It was kind of pre-rut right around Halloween, and perfect conditions. And I got in there, and the first morning I did not see that deer, but I saw 15 other deer, several other bucks. They just love that thicket. And I heard a big buck fight behind me. And so I got back, I got out of the stand for couple hours in the middle of the day, got back in about 3:00, and at 4:30 I looked behind me, and again, north wind was blowing up against that bank and just off to the quarter of it, which is, you know, one of those things you hear a lot of guys say, hunt a wind that's good for you and good for the buck. And this was a perfect example of that. This buck came down, there was a creek in the bottom, and he came down that ridge and got a drink of water out of that creek. I got it all on video. I think it's still on the Team 200 page. But anyway, I shot him, you know, at 20 something yards, and I'm convinced he was the buck that was up there fighting, and he got thirsty from having that fight and came down to get a drink of water, and shot him. And then, you know, the next year shot the 186, and the year after that shot the 183. And, you know, again, they all happened. I waited because that was a bedding area. I waited until conditions were perfect, and because it couldn't take any pressure. And I killed all those deer within the first, I want to say 3 days. I killed the 186, the absolute afternoon I went in there, knew he was in there, same trail cameras, same placement of the trail cameras, same stand, same everything. And so that was a bedding area that I just did not hunt. Season opens October 1st. I didn't go near there then. I waited until around Halloween for that pre-rut the first week in November, and it worked out. Another example here at home is a real funnel area. There is a big cutover. I don't know if you're familiar with cutovers. I guess in Pennsylvania, you guys have cutovers, where they come in and just cut all the trees out, and then you got huge briar beds and all that.
Yeah, we call them clear cuts up here. Yep.
Cuts, cutovers. Yeah, same thing. And so you're very familiar with this. Well, in the middle of these clear cuts, there are like these drainage ditches that they're not allowed to cut up to because of erosion. And so they make these awesome rut funnels. These bucks hop in these drainage ditches, and there's 20 yards of timber on each side. They won't let them cut right up to these drainage ditches because of the erosion again. Sure. And so there was a T-junction that both these drainage ditches ran into with these timbers. So it's literally a T in the middle of this cutover. It's probably 150 acre cutover. And man, during the rut, I can hunt that thing every single day. And I've killed a big deer in South Carolina in that T-junction. If I'm here during the rut, I will kill a nice South Carolina swamp buck in that junction every single year. And you can hunt it. I can hunt it 15 days in a row and not blow it up, because these deer, it's easy to get in, easy to get out. They never know I'm there. Sure. And they're just it's not a destination. They're traveling through there, and it's different deer using it. So, that's an example of, a rut funnel zone that you can really blow up and hunt the heck out of.
Right. So are you primarily waiting for late October, early November?